Delicious in Dungeon, or Dunmeshi, is without a doubt the best anime I've ever seen. I've been into anime for a few years now, and while I'm nowhere near as into it as others, I still thoroughly enjoy it. From well-known shows like Death Note, to far more obscure ones like Wonder Egg Priority, I've liked a pretty wide variety of shows, but nothing so far is compared to Dunmeshi. I first saw something about the show on Instagram when it released on Netflix, and thought, oh, that looks fun. It reminds me of D&D, I'll check it out eventually. A few months go by and my boyfriend starts watching it and he recommends it to me. I realized that I already had it on my watch list a while ago, so I figured I'd start it. Now, if you clicked on this video and haven't seen the show, I bet you're wondering, what is it even about? Well, I'll tell you. Just a heads up, all of this happens in the first episode, so it's not much of a spoiler, but I will likely spoil things later in this video. A group of adventurers are fighting a red dragon in a dungeon, and Fallon, one of the party's magic users, gets eaten by the dragon, as she teleports the others back to the surface for safety. The party members, Shuro and Namari, leave to go do other things since they think Fallon is a lost cause. The other three party members, Laios, Chilchuck, and Marcel, try to find a way to save Fallon. Later in the episode, they meet Senshi, who teaches them how to cook dungeon monsters. This allows them to explore the dungeon further without going back for more supplies. The monster eating is obviously a big theme of the show, with each episode having a different monster and a different dish. Dunmeshi, particularly through Senshi and Laios' characters, emphasizes being well-fed, but it's more than just dieting and optimized meals. Laios attributes good eating to surviving in the dungeon, and food is used to bring the character together, as well as highlight their strengths and weaknesses. That's all the basic premise, and I'll go more into detail about specific parts later in this video. The show finds a way to perfectly balance serious character moments with comedic ones. A lot of the comedy comes from how drastically different all the characters' outlooks on life are. For example, Laios is extremely excited to eat monsters, while Marcel is cartoonishly opposed to it. And just because the show is very comedic, doesn't mean it can't have its darker emotional moments. There are two things I want to talk about here. One, when the group finally finds Fallon, and two, when Senshi tells his backstory. At the end of episode 11, the group finds Fallon after killing the red dragon. I assumed since the dragon's digestion is very slow that she would still be alive, but the shocking reveal at the end of the episode is the group pulling her skull out of the dragon's body. This happens right after a climactic battle with the dragon that takes up the entire episode. The group barely manages to defeat it, and you hope that everything will be okay by the end, but it's not. I remember being completely stunned by the end of this episode the first time I watched it. The feeling still carries over even after my first viewing. The second thing I want to go over is the part in episodes 22 and 23 where Senshi's explaining his backstory of how he got into the dungeon. This part almost made me start crying, which is very hard for a piece of media to do. I feel like I can't do these scenes justice with only my explanation, so I'll try to find a clip and put it here.
石ぐらい食えないものか。
おい、食い物隠し持ってるな。やめろ。何をしている。このガキ。外へ出て話そう。戦士が怖がってる。
怒鳴り合う声が徐々に激しくなり、大きく争う物音と悲鳴が何度か聞こえ、恐ろしいほど静かになった。
一体何が？ブリガンは？
じっとしてる。外は見ない方がいい。グリフィンに襲われたんだ。グリフィンは俺が殺したが、ブリガンも即死した。
ギリンの頭を見ると、何か鈍器で殴られたようなへこみがあった。
グリフィンを食っちまおう。あいつをさばいてスープにすれば何日かは生きられる。
水で煮ただけのグリフィンのスープは獣の匂いと肉の硬さでひどい味だったが、夢中で咀嚼し、ゆっくりと長い時間をかけ飲み込んだ。小便をしてくると言ってふらりと出て行った彼は二度と戻らなかった。私は一人残されてしまった。
Something else I really enjoyed about this show are the opening and credit songs. It sounds a little bit silly, but these songs are very, very good. The first and only season so far is split into two halves, which each get their own opening and credit songs. The two songs from the first half are Sleepwalking Orchestra and Party, while the other two songs' names are in Japanese, so I don't really know how to pronounce them, but here they are. I'm gonna see if I can get clips of all four songs to put here so you all can see what I mean. I think my favorite is either Sleepwalking Orchestra or the second credits song. Sleepwalking Orchestra sets the vibe of the series so perfectly, and it's such a fun, energetic song, while the second credits song is much more calm, and it really hits you hard emotionally at the end of the last episode. Now, for the time many of you have probably been waiting for. Now, unfortunately, there are no confirmed queer characters in Dunmeshi, but there aren't really any confirmed romantic relationships at all with the main cast. Despite not having canonical depictions of queerness, many folks in the fandom, including myself, have interpreted some of these characters as a part of the LGBTQ community. Fallon and Marcel's relationship is the most significant and common interpretation. I, along with basically the entire fandom, agrees that they are in love with each other. Fallon isn't present for a good bit of the show, but the way Marcel talks about her and the way they both act in their scenes together is very heavily queer-coded. It goes far beyond being good friends, and I hesitate to even call it queer-coding because of how blatant it is. There are many scenes that illustrate this point, but to anyone who's seen the show, you know what I'm going to bring up. It's the bath scene. Of course it's the bath scene. I'm not going to play this one because I don't think YouTube would like that very much, but I'll summarize it. Basically, the party just found Fallon and the Red Dragon after killing it, but they were too late, and she got digested. Then, Marcel uses ancient and maybe evil magic, we're not sure yet, to resurrect Fallon from just a skeleton, which is incredibly difficult and rare. After this, Fallon and Marcel take a bath together so they can both get cleaned up. I feel like saying that sentence alone is enough, but usually if you're doing that with someone, you're a little more than just friends. Also, the whole scene, they both act incredibly gay in the best way possible. There are a lot of other scenes that portray their heavily implied relationship, and there's probably even more in the manga, but I suggest you go watch it or read it yourself if you want to go see them. Something else queer-related that has a lot less backing, but I think is a fun headcanon, is that Thistle, or the Mad Mage, is trans and or non-binary. Thistle is the main antagonist of the show as a whole and referred to as he in the show, but in some versions of the manga they are referred to as she. I think the reason they were referred to as she in the manga is because of a translation error in some of the versions, but I think this headcanon is fun anyways. Now, the final thing I want to talk about this video is... did I really need to make a whole section of this video for Isazumi? No. Did I anyways? Absolutely. Itsuzumi is a character introduced in the second half of the show who was previously part of Shuro's group that he made when he left Laios' group. She's essentially just a cat girl. Her soul and a monster soul got fused together, which turned her into what she is now. The party is very interested in the way her soul works because at this point in the show, Fallon got turned into a chimera by the Mad Mage, and because the Mad Mage controlled the Red Dragon, and Fallon's soul got fused with the dragons. The party thinks that maybe they can find a way to help Itsuzumi and Fallon at the same time, and eventually Itsuzumi becomes a main character in the party. I gave her an entire section in this video because I just really like her, and I didn't have a good chance anywhere else to mention her. I relate to her a lot as a character because she sleeps a lot, and she's kind of a picky eater, and despite having a wolf motif with my avatar and a lot of my characters, I've been calling myself a cat girl half-jokingly for years at this point, so that's really why I included this section. I heavily relate to Marcel as well, but I already talked about her. Anyway, I highly recommend Dunmeshi to anyone who got this far into this video. There are so many subtle things about the show I could talk about for like hours and hours upon end, but I genuinely just want more people to watch the show and experience it on its own. A season 2 of the show has already been announced, even though season 1 just ended recently, and the entire manga has been released as well, so if you don't want to wait for new episodes, you could just read that. I'm so excited to see what comes next from this series, and I can't wait for more. If you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe down below. Okay, that's all for this video. Bye!
던전 메시. 아, 던전 메시.